Good morning. Hi, everybody. It's Monday morning again. I hope you're all well. So, today's video is all about why I believe unlearning is more important than learning. It's an interesting topic. So, if you can hear me and see me, just give me a little like or a little heart, and let me know if you're watching live or on replay and whereabouts you are watching from today. Is it in the north, the south, perhaps even further afield? I think we've had a couple on from Australia and New York as well, which is kind of cool. So who is joining us this morning? Good morning. Good morning. Hard to believe we are in the second week of November, isn't it? So just giving another minute or two to allow people to join. Morning, Veronica. Hi, thanks for joining. Good to see you. Okay, I think we'll make a start, shall we? Good. Okay, so today we're going to talk about unlearning and how important unlearning is. And in my opinion, it's probably more important than learning. It's really difficult to learn new things if we are kind of stuck in a particular way of thinking or believing, or we have certain attitudes or bias towards certain things. So what do I mean by this? This is basically about all of the thoughts that we think, the beliefs that we have, either about ourselves or about the world that we live in. Also about our daily habits and rituals and routines and the things that we do, more often than not on automatic pilot. In fact, most of these things are done unconsciously rather than consciously. Also any bias that we might have about other people or the world as well, that can potentially affect how well we are living. So it really is about the conditioning, and unlearning is about remembering who we actually were before the world started to influence us, because so many of us are influenced by external forces rather than our own internal signposting, our own internal GPRS system that tells us what's right and what's not right. And we get a lot of messages every day, don't we? We get a huge amount of messages every day from various people, even now as adults. But what I'm talking about really is when we are growing up, we see and we hear a lot of messages, and a lot of those messages don't belong to us. So a lot of the thoughts that we think actually aren't our thoughts, or are messages that perhaps we heard growing up, from parents, from teachers, from religious leaders, from the media, from friends, from the news, from society, from the culture even that we live in as well. We get messages about how we should be and what we should do rather than what actually feels right for us. So how do we unlearn and kind of peel back these layers of conditioning that perhaps don't belong to us and perhaps aren't in alignment with who we actually are? I personally started this process, and I've been hunting the house to look for the little booklet that we used when I was 25, so that's a long time ago. Long ago as that, 16 years ago. And I share this story a lot. I enrolled in a counselling course, and that was kind of the start of my journey. And part of that counselling course was self-inquiry about who you are at your core, and what belongs to you and what belongs to other people. And this process of handing back the stuff that doesn't belong to us, handing it back to whoever it belongs to, and actually creating our own authentic thoughts, our own authentic beliefs, our own authentic attitudes and habits that actually will support us as human beings. Now, that's not to say that all the things that have been passed down from generations to us are not important, that we must unlearn them all. Absolutely not. There's loads of things that I learned growing up that will stay with me forever, and I will very happily and confidently and proudly pass them on to my 5-year-old. But it is a good piece of inquiry work to do, because you really get to know who you are at your core, as I say, before the world started to influence you. So this process of unlearning, and by the way, I am still unlearning. I am still going through that process of unlearning stuff, unraveling stuff. I'm currently doing a course at the minute. I'm halfway through it, and absolutely, it has really opened my eyes about certain beliefs that I had that I didn't realize that I had. So it's a lifelong process. It's not a case of you sit down, you do the exercise like I did all those years ago, and that's it. Things will evolve and things will change as you evolve and as you change as a person as well. And there's no right or wrong to this unlearning process. It's, I believe we all, when we're ready to hear the message, or when we're ready to unlearn, we will do the work. We will get to work. Does that make sense so far? Let me just tap in and see who's with us. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. So how do we go through this unlearning process, and what does it require? I think the first thing it requires, like anything, is space. It's super hard to really look at ourselves in a honest, open way if we don't have two things, and that's time and space. So actually giving ourselves permission to sit down and allow ourselves the space to reflect. And that's what it is. It's about self-inquiry, and it requires a certain level of self-awareness as well. It also requires curiosity, because if you're not curious about your thoughts, about your beliefs, about any bias that you might have, or your habits, you kind of need that curiosity, don't you? You kind of need that. That's, for me, curiosity is the spark of true awakening. For me, when I am curious, I reveal more of myself, so I become more authentic. But also when we go through this unlearning process, it changes our perspective. It changes our perspective on ourselves and the relationship we have with ourselves, but also with the world. It changes our perspective that we have with the world. It means that we are more flexible in our thinking, so more like a growth mindset. What I have noticed with the unlearning, it's gave me deeper meaning of life, of my life, of why I'm here, my purpose, my values. But what I've also found in the unlearning is it's really deepened my practice of compassion for myself and compassion for other people. So some questions that might help if you want to do this inquiry work, and you can do this inquiry work yourself. So what I would do is take a few of your thoughts, unhelpful thoughts, your beliefs, about certain things. Perhaps some habits that aren't serving you very well, and some of your bias as well, your attitudes and your bias to the world. And ask yourself some questions about those. There's a great quote, and I can't remember who said it, but questions, what was it? No, I can't remember. The level of questions set you free, or the level of questions you ask yourself about yourself and life deepens your awareness, something like that. But questions are really good. It's good to ask yourself questions. And here's the thing, we all have blind spots as well. So sometimes I might have a bias or a belief about something, and I don't even realize it's like a black spot in my unconscious mind. And a friend will maybe say something to me, and I'll go, "Oh, I never thought of that like that. Oh my goodness!" And that maybe is enough for me to actually open my mind to other possibilities or other points of views as well. So when you're questioning these sets of beliefs, attitudes, thoughts that you have, a good question is, are these in alignment with my values? So that's another piece of work, is figuring out what your core values are. But are they in alignment with your values? It's a really good question to ask yourself. Other questions, and I've jotted them down here. Where do your beliefs come from? That's a really good question, because if your beliefs are in alignment with your values and who you are as a person, they're yours, they're authentic, they will support you. But if you find that some of your beliefs don't belong to you, they're things that have been passed on from other people, then perhaps question those a little bit more, perhaps go a little bit deeper into those beliefs. Deepak Chopra says, a belief is simply a thought, and a thought that you believe, and a thought can be changed. So I'll say that again. A belief is simply a thought that you believe, and a thought can be changed. So it is possible, and it is you can change your beliefs. I've changed loads over the years. Another question is, how do they support you, and do they support you? Are they in alignment with who you are and who you want to become as well? And do you believe them to be true? Do you believe them to be true to you? If you're sitting thinking, I have no idea what you're talking about in terms of bias, attitudes, beliefs, obviously you know what thoughts are and habits are, but just to give you an example of how wide-ranging this is, here's a list. So our beliefs, attitudes and biases about work, about money, about success, about health and fitness and diet culture, and body shape, body size, body image, race, privilege, money, sexism, religion, spirituality, relationships, politics, economics, science, human rights, sexuality, addiction, contraception, women's rights, marriage, children, education. When I say children, as in how children, your beliefs around how children should be brought up. That's what I mean with regards to that. So, and I'm sure I've missed loads. I'm sure there's loads of other ones there that you can think of, or that I've forgotten about, because the topics are so wide ranging. So yeah, it's always good to do some self-inquiry. It's always good to check in with where you're at and if you're living in alignment to what is true for you. Yeah, so that is today's. Let me see who is, I've got some comments here, so I just want to Makes sense. That's good. And hello, Selena, you're very welcome. Rhonda, 100% makes sense. Great stuff, Rhonda. And I know we're going to be chatting later on as well. So yes, so that is why unlearning is, in my opinion, more important than learning. Because sometimes we have to let go of the rigid views, opinions, beliefs, attitudes that we have about ourselves and about the world in order to learn new things. I hope that was really helpful today, and have a really good week, and I look forward to checking in with you all next Monday. See you then. Bye.